They said if I signed the paper, I could still keep my daughter. That was the first lie. The second was worse. They told me the woman I put my mouth on was alive enough to ruin me. I remember staring at the HR lady across that glass desk, trying to understand how saving a life had turned into something dirty. My hands still smelled like bleach from the night shift. My ribs hurt from how hard I had pushed on Vivian Sterling's chest. My lips were cracked from dry air and cheap coffee. And this woman in pearls was sliding a resignation form toward me like she was doing me a favor. "Sign," she said, "or we let the footage go public." I looked down at the paper. Voluntary resignation, no charges, no further action. Then she leaned in and lowered her voice. "You have a little girl, Mr. Turner. Think about what a scandal like this would do to her." That was the moment something cold moved through me. Not fear, not yet. The kind of silence a man feels when he finally understands nobody in the room plans to tell the truth. I signed because Layla needed groceries more than I needed pride. I signed because I thought lies had limits. I signed because I still did not know how far rich people would go to protect themselves. And before that day was over, the whole city would know my face, but not the truth. So tell me this. What would you do if the one life you saved became the reason your own life started falling apart? The video hit my neighborhood before I got home. I did not even see it first. Mrs. Chen did. She was waiting outside our apartment building with Layla tucked behind her legs and her phone gripped so hard I thought it might crack. Mrs. Chen was not family by blood, but blood had nothing to do with the way she protected us. She looked at me once and I knew something bad had already arrived before I did. "Do not let Layla see this," she said. My stomach dropped. "See what?" She turned the phone around. There I was on the screen in my janitor uniform, bent over a woman on the floor, but the clip had been cut so tight it looked violent. Wrong. There was no sound, no panic from the room, no one grabbing me, no one shouting that she could not breathe. Just me with my hands on Vivian Sterling, Billionaire CEO, while the caption screamed that I had attacked her during a private meeting. My mouth went dry. "That's not what happened," I said. Mrs. Chen's eyes softened, but only for a second. "I know, but people online do not care what happened. They care what they are told." Layla peeked around her coat. "Daddy." I locked my phone and forced my face into something calm. "Hey, bug." She smiled, but it faded fast. Even at 7, she knew when my smile was fake. There were 2 men across the street pretending not to stare at our building. One had a camera hanging low against his chest. The other kept looking at his phone, then up at me. "Inside," Mrs. Chen said. "Now." We moved fast. Our apartment was small enough that silence had nowhere to hide. A table pushed against one wall. 2 chairs that did not match. A couch I had found by a dumpster and cleaned myself. Layla's drawings taped near the window to cover a crack in the glass. One drawing had a little blue house with a red door and 3 people in front of it, me, Layla, and her mother with yellow wings because dead did not make sense to a child, but Angel did. Layla climbed onto the couch and hugged her backpack. "Did you do something bad?" she asked. Kids do not circle pain, they walk straight into it. I sat in front of her and took both her small hands in mine. "No, I did not do something bad." "Then why do people look mad?" "Because the truth was poor and the lie had money behind it. I could not say that to a little girl." "Because sometimes grown-ups get scared," I said, "and scared people say ugly things." She looked at me for a long time. "Mrs. Chen said you helped someone." I nodded. "I did." "Then that means you're still you." My throat tightened so hard I had to look away. Mrs. Chen quietly set a plastic container of dumplings on the table. A sacrifice no one asked for. Just food, just love. The kind that keeps people alive. That night my phone would not stop ringing. Unknown numbers, blocked numbers, reporters, strangers. One message called me a hero by mistake before the truthless machine corrected itself. After that it was monster, pervert, creep, predator. I turned the sound off, but the screen kept lighting up in the dark like the room itself was accusing me. Layla fell asleep against my side while an old cartoon played with the volume low. I did not move for almost an hour because she had finally stopped trembling. When I carried her to bed, something slipped from her blanket onto the floor, a paper crown. She had made it at school from yellow construction paper and silver stars. On the front, in crooked pencil, she had written, "Dad of the Year." I sat on the edge of her mattress with that crown in my hand and felt my chest cave in. My daughter thought I was the best man in the world. By morning, the world would think I was filth. I did not sleep. I just waited for daylight to make everything worse. It did. Sterling Industries called me in before sunrise. The woman from HR did not offer coffee, did not ask me to sit at first. She let me stand there in my second-hand jacket while she arranged papers into neat little corners, like order on a desk could excuse what she was about to do. Then she gave me the speech. Last night's incident, inappropriate contact, violation of executive protection policy, potential criminal exposure. I remember laughing once, just once, a dry, broken sound. She wasn't breathing, I said. The HR lady did not blink. That is not your determination to make. I brought her back. We have witness statements that say otherwise. That was when she slid the resignation form toward me. Then came the part about Layla. Then I signed. When I stepped back onto the street, I had no job and no defense and one cheap paper crown folded inside my coat pocket like a prayer. The bus ride home felt longer than the whole night before. At every stop I thought about turning around, going back, forcing my way into the building, demanding to see Vivian Sterling herself, because she had opened her eyes. She had looked at me, she knew. Or maybe I only wanted to believe that. Maybe rich people woke up in clean hospital sheets and let other people carry the guilt for them. By noon, my warehouse boss called and fired me from my day job too. By 2, someone had posted our address. By 4, a mother from Layla's school sent me a message asking me not to come near pickup anymore until things were clarified. That one hurt worse than the others. Not because it was cruel, because it was polite. I stopped reading after that. Around evening there was a knock at my door, not the fast, rude pounding of media, not the careful tap Mrs. Chen used. 3 soft knocks. I opened it ready to lie, ready to say wrong apartment, ready to shut the world out again. Instead, I saw a woman in a dark coat standing under the weak hallway light, one hand braced against the wall like she did not fully trust her own body. Her hair was pulled back. Her face was pale. Her eyes were sharper than anything else about her. I had only seen those eyes once up close, on a conference room floor. Vivian Sterling looked at me like she had climbed into a life she had never touched before and found something there that frightened her. For a second neither of us spoke. Then her gaze dropped to the yellow paper crown still clenched in my hand. When she looked back up, her voice was barely above a whisper. "They told me you attacked me." I stared at her. She swallowed hard. "But I remember your voice." I should have slammed the door. A smarter man would have. A man with less to lose might have looked Vivian Sterling in the face, told her to take her apology back to her glass tower, and let her stand in that dirty hallway with all the damage her name had dragged behind it. Instead, I just stood there, holding my daughter's paper crown like it was the only proof left that I belonged to somebody. "You remember?" I asked. Her eyes did not leave mine. Not everything, just enough. That should have felt like relief. It did not. Because enough was not the same as truth. Enough was not a public statement. Enough was not rent money or a cleared name or a little girl who could walk into school without hearing her father called a monster. Behind me, a floorboard creaked. Mrs. Chen had stepped into the hallway from her apartment, her arms folded tight across her chest, ready to throw this woman back down the stairs herself if she had to. Layla's bedroom door stayed shut. Thank God for that. Vivian looked smaller than she had in the pictures. Not weak, never that, but stripped down somehow. The kind of stripped down that happens when power does not help and money cannot buy back one clean night of sleep. "I need 5 minutes," she said. "You already took more than that." The words came out harder than I meant them to, but I did not take them back. She nodded once like she had expected worse. "I know." Mrs. Chen's voice cut and sharp. "If this is for your company, you can leave." "It's not," Vivian said. "Mrs. Chen gave a cold little laugh. Rich people always say that right before they ruin you again. I almost smiled at that. Vivian did not argue, she just looked at me. Please. It was stupid to let her in. I knew that even while I stepped aside. She entered carefully as if she understood she was walking into the remains of something already broken. Her gaze moved over the room without judgment. The worn couch, the chipped counter, Layla's drawings, the stack of overdue bills I had forgotten to hide, a child's sneaker by the door with the sole coming loose at the toe. She saw it all. That made me angrier than if she had looked away. I stayed standing. She did too. What do you want? I asked the truth. I let out one bitter breath. You own half this city, buy it. She flinched. Good. I watched the footage, she said, the real footage. For 1 second the room felt still in a dangerous way. I said nothing. My executives froze. Security tried to pull you off me. You kept going. Her voice thinned on the last part. You saved my life. There it was, the sentence I had needed all day. The sentence that had arrived too late to save anything. I looked toward Layla's door because I could not look at Vivian. Then, why am I the one being buried? Because they lied to me. I snapped my head back toward her, and you believed them. Her jaw tightened. I was in a hospital bed. I was told security handled it. I was told there was confusion. I was told the footage was compromised. So your people framed me while you recovered? Yes. The word landed clean and ugly between us. At least she did not dress it up. Mrs. Chen was still in the doorway listening. And now you come here for what? Forgiveness. Vivian turned toward her. No. Then she faced me again. I came because the man who saved my life has been punished for it, and that happened under my name. The room went quiet. A good line, strong line, maybe true, still not enough. My daughter's school thinks I'm dangerous, I said. My jobs are gone. There are reporters outside. People posted our address. A man yelled filth at me on the bus this afternoon. My voice cracked and I hated that she heard it. So forgive me if I don't stand up and thank you for visiting. You shouldn't thank me. Then what am I supposed to do with you? That was the question, really. What do poor men do when powerful women finally decide to look directly at the damage? Vivian opened her mouth, then stopped. For the first time since she came in, she looked unsure. That did something to me I did not want, because uncertainty looked too human, and it was easier to hate institutions than a woman standing in my kitchen trying not to fall apart. Then she said the last thing I expected. Let me fix it. I laughed, not because it was funny, because the sound that came out of me had nowhere else to go. You think this is a broken window? No. You think this is a statement, and a check and maybe a few lawyers? No. Then what do you think it is? Her eyes held mine. A man did the right thing and the world taught him to regret it. That hit hard enough to make me angry all over again. Before I could answer, Layla's door opened. I turned too fast. She stood there in pink socks and one of my old t-shirts hanging to her knees, hair messy from sleep, eyes half closed. Then she saw Vivian and froze. Children know when something important has entered a room. Daddy. I crossed to her at once and crouched down. Hey, Bug, you should be in bed. She did not take her eyes off Vivian. Is that the lady? There are moments when language feels like a trap. I could lie, I could protect, I could also fail. Yes, I said softly, that's her. Layla looked at Vivian for a long second, then back at me. If you hurt my dad, you have to leave. No one spoke. Mrs. Chen muttered, good girl. Vivian's face changed in a way I will not forget. Not shame alone, something deeper, like the full weight of consequence had finally found a door and walked in. I know, she said gently, and you're right. Layla frowned. Did he hurt you? No, Vivian said. Then why are people saying bad things? There it was, child truth, straight, clean, merciless. Vivian swallowed. Because adults can be cowardly when they are scared. Layla considered that. Then she did something that nearly broke me. She stepped closer to me and took my hand. He saved you, didn't he? Vivian's eyes shone. Yes. My dad saves people, Layla said, like she was correcting a math mistake. He saved my goldfish too, even when it looked dead. A sound escaped Vivian then, half laugh, half grief. I put my hand on Layla's shoulder. Back to bed, baby. She nodded, but not before looking at Vivian one more time. If you know he's good, you have to say it loud. Then she went back into her room and shut the door. Nobody moved for a second after that. Mrs. Chen wiped under one eye and pretended she had not. Vivian stared at the closed door like that small voice had just judged her more honestly than any board ever could. Finally, she exhaled. She's right. I was too tired for hope, so I leaned on anger instead. It was stronger, safer. And how loud are you planning to say it? She pulled a phone from her coat pocket. Very. I did not realize how much energy I had burned through until the room tilted. Not dramatic, just enough to warn me. I put one hand on the table. Vivian noticed first. Are you all right? I'm fine. A lie, a cheap one. Mrs. Chen gave me a look sharp enough to peel paint. When did you last eat? I waved it off. She did not let me. When? I tried to think. Coffee, half a roll from yesterday, maybe. My silence answered for me. Vivian went still. You haven't eaten. I've had bigger problems. You collapsed in my conference room after working 2 jobs, didn't you? I stared at her. She saw the answer. Then she looked around my kitchen, the empty counter, the nearly empty fridge. Mrs. Chen had been filling one container at a time for weeks, the unpaid electric bill under the sugar jar. The truth had edges now. It cut cleaner in person. I'm making this public tonight, she said. I straightened. No. Both women looked at me. No cameras outside my building. No speeches with my daughter's name in them. No turning us into your redemption story. Her chin lifted a little. That's not what I'm doing. Then do it without using us. She thought about that, really thought, then she nodded. Fine. I should have felt better. Instead, the room kept shifting. Mrs. Chen took one step toward me. Elias. I hated when she used my full name in that tone. I'm okay. The floor disagreed. 1 second I was standing. The next, Vivian Sterling was catching me before my head hit the edge of the table. I heard Mrs. Chen shout. Heard Layla's door open again. Heard Vivian's voice very close to mine, sharp now, terrified in a way I knew too well. Stay with me. That was the line, the same line in a different mouth. The same fear. The world narrowed to pieces after that, her hand at the back of my neck, Layla crying, Mrs. Chen calling an ambulance, my own body giving up at the exact moment I needed it not to. As the dark came in, I forced my eyes open one more time. Vivian was above me, pale and furious and scared, not scared for herself, for me. And that was almost worse, because if she really meant to save me now, then everything after this was going to get harder, not easier. When I woke up, the first thing I heard was Layla crying in the hallway. Not loud. That made it worse. Little kids cry loud when they want attention. They cry quietly when they are trying to be brave. I tried to sit up too fast and pain dragged through my body like a hook. A nurse appeared at once. Easy. Where's my daughter? She's safe. Safe was not the same as with me. I pushed myself higher anyway. The room came into focus slowly. White walls, thin blanket, IV in my arm, heart monitor on my chest, hospital smell, the kind of clean that never covers fear. Then I saw Vivian through the half-open door. She was kneeling in the hallway, not in some expensive suit now, but in the same dark clothes from the night before, wrinkled and tired. Layla stood in front of her with her paper crown bent in one hand and tears on her face. Vivian was not touching her. That mattered. She kept just enough distance to let Layla choose. I told him not to disappear, Layla whispered. Vivian's voice was soft. He didn't. He falls down too much. I closed my eyes for a second. That line hurt because it was true. Vivian glanced into the room and saw me awake. Relief hit her face so fast she could not hide it. Then she looked back at Layla. You can go in now, she said. He's waiting for you." Layla ran to me. I got one arm around her before she crashed into my chest and started crying for real this time. "Hey, Bug. You scared me." "I know. You promised. There is no defense against a child's memory." "I know," I said again and kissed the top of her head. "I'm sorry." She held on tighter. "Don't save any more people." The nurse looked away. Even Vivian flinched. I almost laughed, but the sound broke in the middle. "I'll try." Layla pulled back enough to inspect my face like she was checking for damage. Then she opened her hand and gave me the crown. It was crushed now. One silver star had come off. "You dropped this," she said. I took it carefully. A stupid thing, cheap paper, tape, pencil. But in that moment it felt heavier than anything I had carried in months. After the nurse checked my vitals and Mrs. Chen came in muttering about hospital food and useless men who forget to eat, Layla was taken to the cafeteria with strict instructions to pick whatever she wanted. Mrs. Chen went with her. That left me alone with Vivian. The room changed as soon as the door shut. Silence does that when two people owe each other more than words can hold. She stayed by the window at first. I stayed in the bed because collapsing had ruined any illusion of control I still had left. Finally, I said, "What did they tell the press?" Her mouth tightened. "Enough to destroy you." That wasn't the question. She looked at me fully then. They released an edited clip. They framed it as an assault. HR called it unauthorized physical contact with the CEO during a private executive meeting. I stared at her. The words were so polished they almost sounded legal, clean, controlled, made for people who had never watched someone turn blue in front of them. They used my mouth saving your life and turned it into something filthy. Yes. No excuse, no softening, just yes. I appreciated that more than I wanted to. "I'm releasing the full footage," she said. I laughed once without humor. "And then what? The internet apologizes." No, her gaze sharpened. "Then the lie loses its shelter." I looked down at the bent crown in my hands. "You think truth wins because it deserves to." "No," she said quietly. "Truth wins when someone powerful is finally willing to bleed for it." That made me look up. She came closer then, slowly, like she understood sudden kindness might feel like another attack. "I called my board," she said. "My legal team, my head of security, my communications office. Anyone involved in burying what happened is done." "You can fire them that fast." "I can start." "And the ones you can't." A pause, "Then I make them regret staying." That should have sounded cold. Instead it sounded tired, personal, dangerous. I studied her face. There were shadows under her eyes, a bruise near her hairline from the fall, no makeup hiding the exhaustion. This was not the woman from magazine covers. This was a woman who had watched proof of her own machine crush the wrong man and come here anyway. Still, pain teaches caution. "You don't owe me a war," I said. "Yes, I do. You owe me the truth. I owe you both." I looked away first. She pulled a folded paper from her bag and set it on the side table. "What is that?" "A draft statement." I did not touch it. She picked it up instead and read a line from the middle. "Elias Turner saved my life while others in the room failed to act. He performed CPR and rescue breaths after I stopped breathing. He is not my attacker. He is the reason I am alive." The room went very still. A sentence can be a door. A sentence can also be a wound arriving late. I swallowed hard. "You put my name in it." "Yes." "My daughter too." "No." "Good." I also demanded every platform carrying the edited clip run a correction. I shook my head. "That won't erase the comments, or the screenshots, or the people who already decided what I am." "No," she said again, "but it draws a line publicly, clearly." That mattered more than I wanted to admit. I unfolded the crown and tried to smooth one bent edge flat with my thumb. It would not stay. Vivian noticed. Without thinking, she reached into her coat and pulled out something small and metallic. My janitor badge. I stared at it. The cheap plastic tag from Sterling Industries, my photo, my name, the edges scuffed from months of being ignored. They had it in security, she said. I took it back. She said it beside the crown. No speech, no drama, just a silent gesture. And somehow that wrecked me more than the statement did, because they had taken my name from me in every way that mattered, and she had carried one small piece of it back. Why? I asked. Her answer came almost too fast. Because they don't get to decide who you are. I could not speak for a second. Outside, a cart rattled past. Somewhere down the hall, a baby cried. Machines beeped. Hospitals keep moving even when your life is paused in one room. Then I asked the question I had been avoiding. Why me? She frowned. What do you mean? You have money, lawyers, influence. You could clear this quietly. Send help through people. Stay far away from the mess. Her expression changed. Because I remember your voice. The same line again, only this time it landed different. She stepped closer. When I was on that floor, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move. I heard panic, shoes, shouting. Then I heard one person say, please don't die, like it actually mattered. Her voice lowered. You were a stranger. You had no reason to risk anything for me, but you did. I looked down, she kept going. So now I have a reason. There are moments when the air in a room shifts and you know the story is changing shape. Not into romance. Not yet. Into something more dangerous first. Trust. The door opened before I could answer. Sarah, the woman from the hospital desk, leaned in. Miss Sterling, the press is already running with your statement. Vivian closed her eyes once, steadying herself. Good or bad? I asked. Sarah gave me a strange look. Both. The full footage is everywhere now. My heart kicked hard, and people are furious. Vivian took out her phone. The screen was full of alerts. Headlines, messages, calls. She handed it to me. I saw one side-by-side image first, the edited clip on one side, the real footage on the other. Then comments flooding under it. He saved her. They tried to ruin him. That company should burn. Another clip played, the real one this time, me dropping to my knees, people yelling, security grabbing my shoulder. My hands pressing down, my mouth over hers. Her body jerking back into breath. A whole room watching, a whole room failing. My stomach turned. It was the truth, and it still felt like being skinned alive in public. Turn it off, I said. Vivian took the phone back at once. She did not argue, that mattered too. Then Sarah said, there's more. Of course there was. Several networks want interviews. Your board is in crisis. 3 executives are claiming they were misled. Legal says. Vivian cut her off. Later. Sarah glanced between us, nodded, and left. The room quieted again. I looked at Vivian. This is going to get uglier. Yes. They'll come after you too. I know. You could still step back. Her eyes held mine. So could you. For the first time since she came to my apartment, I almost smiled. Not because anything was fixed, because she had finally said something true enough to stand beside. We were both already in it. And outside that hospital room, the whole city was learning my name for a second time. This time, with the truth attached. Truth had a price, and I was starting to understand that Vivian Sterling was ready to pay it. The real question was whether I could survive what came next. The truth did not save me. Not right away. It only changed the shape of the fire. By the next morning, the city had turned inside out. The same people who had called me a predator were now calling me a hero. News vans that had camped outside my building to film my downfall were suddenly waiting to catch my face when I stepped into sunlight. Strangers sent money. Lawyers offered help. Men who would not have looked at me on the sidewalk a week earlier posted long speeches about courage and class and justice. None of it felt real, because Layla still woke up from bad dreams, because my body still shook when my phone buzzed. Because when the world decides it knows your story, it never asks what the noise costs the people living inside it. I was released from the hospital 2 days later with a bag of medication, a warning about stress, and strict instructions not to skip meals like I had a habit of trying to disappear. Mrs. Chen made sure I heard that part twice. Vivian was waiting when we came downstairs, not inside the discharge area, outside it. Again, that distance mattered. She stood when Layla spotted her. My daughter did not run to her. She did not hide either. She just held my hand and studied her with the seriousness only children can carry without trying. Vivian bent slightly so they were eye level. "I found something for you," she said. From her coat pocket, she pulled out a silver star sticker, the missing one from the paper crown. Layla's eyes widened. "You saved it." Vivian gave a small nod. "I thought it belonged back where it came from." Layla took it, then looked up at me. "Can we fix it when we get home?" "Yeah, Bug," I said. "We can fix it." That was the first moment I saw something soften between them. Not trust. Not yet. Just the beginning of a bridge. Vivian had arranged a temporary apartment for us in a safer part of the city. I almost refused it on instinct alone. Pride gets loud when dignity has been starving. But pride does not tuck children into safe beds. Pride does not stop reporters from finding the same cracked front steps every night. Pride does not feed anybody. "I'm not taking charity," I told her while Layla was in the back seat with Mrs. Chen. Vivian did not look offended. "Good, I'm not offering charity." "What are you offering?" "A place to breathe while I finish cleaning up what my company did." "And when that's done?" She looked out the window for a second before answering. "Then you decide what you want from your life that does not belong to me." That was a careful answer, a respectful one, I noticed. The apartment was clean and bright and smelled like paint instead of mildew. Layla ran from room to room like joy had been waiting there before us. There was a small park outside one window, real trees, a bench, a swing set that did not look like it might collapse under a child. Mrs. Chen went straight to the kitchen and started opening cabinets like she had been appointed by heaven to inspect every cupboard in Philadelphia. Layla found the bedroom with the best window and turned to me with a grin so wide it nearly undid me. "Daddy, the light comes all the way in." Such a small sentence, such a big life. That night after Layla fell asleep and Mrs. Chen finally stopped pretending she was not also moving in with us, there was one knock at the door. Vivian. No bodyguards this time, no staff, just her and a folder in her hands. "I can leave this and go," she said. I opened the door wider. "You climbed 4 flights to apologize. This place has an elevator. You may as well use the advantage." The corner of her mouth moved, barely. Inside, she set the folder on the table. Lawsuit options, reinstatement terms, formal findings from the internal investigation, names of the people fired, names of the people under review, evidence the edited footage had been ordered, cut, and pushed out on purpose. Richard Kovac's name was on 3 separate pages. He had not just tried to protect the company. He had tried to protect a world where men like him stayed on top by deciding what men like me were allowed to mean. "I'm pressing charges," Vivian said. "Against everyone involved." I looked up from the papers. "That will hit your board." "Yes." "Your investors." "Yes." "Your reputation." That one made her pause. Then she said, "If my reputation survives by standing on your throat, it deserves to die." There are lines people say because they sound right. And then there are lines that cost something. I believed hers. I sat down slowly. "Why are you telling me all this yourself?" "Because too many things have already been done to you through doors." That one stayed with me. She reached into the folder and pulled out one final page. A job offer, not in facilities, not some pity title, not a reward wrapped in insult. Consultant, employee safety and response review, temporary, independent, paid fairly. I stared at it. She did not push. "I'm not asking now," she said. "And I'm not asking because you saved me. I'm asking because you saw what everyone else in that room missed. Fear, failure, human life. Our company needs that kind of sight." I looked at the page again, me, in a role that asked me to speak, not disappear. "You trust me with that." "Yes." "I trust you more than the people who already had the power." That hit somewhere deep, but old wounds do not become faith in one conversation. "I don't know who I am after all this," I said. Vivian's voice softened. Then don't answer as the man they tried to make you. Answer as the man your daughter already knows. When she left, I sat alone with the offer for a long time. Then I unfolded Layla's paper crown and pressed the silver star back into place. The next weeks were brutal. The truth had turned public opinion, but it also pulled every rotten board loose. More workers came forward. More stories broke. Men in expensive suits went on television and talked about isolated errors and regrettable misunderstandings while lawyers behind the scenes tried to bury evidence under polished language. Vivian did not bend. She testified. She released names. She stood in front of cameras and said, "A company that protects power by destroying decency is not a company. It is a machine, and I am done feeding it." That quote went everywhere. Mine did too, though I had not planned it. A reporter asked me on the courthouse steps whether saving her had been worth it. I looked straight into the cameras and said, "A life is always worth saving, but a system that punishes mercy deserves to be broken." After that, I could not walk 3 feet without hearing my own words repeated back to me. Layla heard them too. One evening, she climbed into my lap with the paper crown on her head and asked, "Are we broken people, Daddy?" I held her for a long time before I answered. "No," I said, "we're people who got bent and kept going." She seemed satisfied with that. Children know when a line belongs in the heart. I took the consulting job 2 weeks later. Temporary became necessary. Necessary became permanent, not because I wanted the spotlight. I still hated rooms where every eye turned when I entered. Still hated headlines. Still hated how quickly people worship and destroy with the same mouth. But workers started coming to me quietly. A woman in payroll who had been ignored for months. A guard with a back injury he had hidden because he could not lose his shifts. A cleaner who said no one had used her name in the building in 6 years. Every story sounded different. Every wound felt familiar. I became useful. That saved me as much as the hospital had. And Vivian. Vivian kept her distance until distance no longer felt like protection. It happened slowly. An extra chair pulled out during late meetings. Coffee left outside my office with no note because she knew I would hate a note. A text after Layla's first day at the new school asking only, "Did she smile?" A night when I stayed too late reading complaints and found a plate covered in foil on the corner of my desk with 3 words written on top by Mrs. Chen, not Vivian. "He will forget." I laughed so hard I had to sit down. When I looked up, Vivian was standing in the doorway. "For the record," she said, "I did remember the fork. You're making progress." "So I've been told." The silence after that was not empty. That was new too. Months passed. Cases got solved. Policies changed. Men who had once looked through people like me started learning that the invisible could now answer back. Layla stopped waking from nightmares. Mrs. Chen planted herbs on the apartment balcony like she had signed some private treaty with peace. And one winter evening, after a board vote that gave worker protections real authority inside the company, Vivian and I ended up alone in the lobby long after everyone else had gone home. The building had gone quiet around us. She looked tired. I probably did too. But there was something else there. Something honest. "I kept thinking gratitude would pass," she said. I frowned. "Gratitude? For being alive?" I leaned against the wall. "Seems reasonable." "No," her eyes lifted to mine. "That's not the part that stayed." The air changed, not with danger, with truth, careful truth. "I don't want you under me," she said at once and then almost laughed at her own phrasing. "At the company, under my authority, not like that, not if this becomes." I understood, and because I understood, I answered carefully too. "It won't become anything while I work for you." She studied my face, maybe checking for disappointment. There wasn't any, only respect. "Good," she said softly, "because you matter too much for me to get that wrong." That was the moment, not a kiss, not a confession thrown like fire. A boundary, a clean one, and somehow that made what I felt more dangerous, not less, because desire can lie. Respect usually does not. The transition came later, after the lawsuit settled, After the independent role ended, after I accepted a new position with board protection, worker backing, and enough distance from her direct authority that no one could call what grew between us a misuse of power. Even then, she asked, clear, calm, no pressure, would dinner feel unfair? I thought about everything it had cost us to arrive at one simple question spoken the right way. Then I said, no, it would feel earned. We did not tell Layla for a while. Children notice before adults admit. One Saturday she came into the kitchen while Vivian was helping Mrs. Chen ruin a batch of dumplings and asked, "Is she here because she likes us or because she likes you?" Mrs. Chen nearly dropped the spoon. Vivian looked at me. I looked at Layla. Then I said, "Both, I hope." Layla nodded like she had suspected this and was mildly disappointed by how long it took us to catch up. Then she put the paper crown on Vivian's head and said, "Don't be weird about it." That was the first time I heard Vivian laugh without holding any part of herself back. A full year after the night in the conference room, we stood together in the small park outside our building while Layla chased pigeons and Mrs. Chen yelled useful insults at all of us from a bench. The city was cold. The sky was turning gold at the edges. Vivian slipped her hand into mine. No cameras. No boardroom. No crowd asking for a clean version of pain, just her hand. Warm, real, chosen. "I almost died," she said quietly. I looked at her. "I know." "No, I mean before all of it, even before I hit the floor that night." Her eyes stayed on Layla. I had built a life that looked untouchable and somehow had no room in it for the things that matter once the room goes silent. I understood that more than she knew. She squeezed my hand once. Then you showed up in a stained uniform and refused to let me disappear. I let out a breath. You made that difficult. You made it worse by surviving. I smiled. That part was mostly for my daughter. "Good," she said. "Keep choosing her first." "I always will." "I know." That was love, I think, not in the fireworks version. In the version that survives daylight. In the version that watches a child run ahead and does not ask to be first in your heart. That night after Layla was asleep, I found the paper crown on my desk. The silver star was peeling again. Cheap things need care over and over. Maybe people do too. I pressed it back in place and thought about the man I had been on that conference room floor. Invisible, exhausted, certain that doing the right thing was simple. It was never simple. It cost. It exposed. It burned. But it also opened doors no fear could have planned. I lost jobs, pride, safety, sleep. I gained a voice, a future, a woman who learned how to tell the truth loud, a daughter who never stopped seeing me clearly even when the whole world got it wrong. And if there is one thing I know now, it is this. The world may first notice you at your lowest. Let it. It still does not get to decide who you are. He stayed honest. She stayed brave. And that changed everything.